Welcome to Christ Church. The following is a homily from our Sunday morning gathering in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Enjoy.
To really get at Thomas, we need to go back to Palm Sunday. And you remember what I said on Palm Sunday. Oh, no, you don't, because there was no sermon on Palm Sunday. First time that I have ever had a Palm Sunday service where I did not preach. Very interesting. There was a reason for that. It was discussed, and we decided to let the service be the instruction. As it turns out, it's a very good decision. Wish I had thought of it, but I can't take credit. It was a collaborative thing, but we do need to go back to Palm Sunday for a moment, because Palm Sunday represents the normal hopes and dreams of people, of human beings, ego-driven, ego-informed, an understanding of what it means for there to be power and glory. And that understanding is expressed as Jesus enters Jerusalem. And there's the hosannas and the blessed is he who come in the name of the Lord and the throwing down of palms and all of this wonderful stuff. And all the disciples, Thomas among them. Thomas, who once said to Jesus, we will go to Jerusalem with you and die. We're with you all the way. Because they believed that Jesus was the one. The one. And when they see the crowd screaming and yelling, it must have been a rush like you couldn't believe. That normal human rush when we go, all right, this is it. we're on top now. Rome and everybody else, it's over. It's over. And I recall the words. Jesus was, there was the plea by the religious authorities to hush the crowds. And he said, no, can't do it. Even if I could do that, the stones would sing. In other words, the created order, the creation was reveling in this moment with its expectation of what was going to take place. And one of the best, most beautiful lines ever written not ever written, but in regards to this particular time, come from Tim Rice, who was the lyricist for Jesus Christ Superstar, which was a big deal when I was in the 7th grade and 8th grade. It was, but there is a response, because Simon, in that you're getting, yours is the power and the glory forever and ever and ever. Yours is the power and the glory forever and ever and ever. That is Simon the Zealot, who thought like most of people do, and most of us do. Power and glory, we know what that is. You just revel in it. And the words written by Tim Rice, which I think capture Jesus very well. The words are, neither you, Simon, nor the 50,000 people gathered, nor the Romans, nor the Jews, nor Judas, nor the 12, nor the priests, nor the scribes, nor poor doomed Jerusalem itself understand what power is, understand what glory is, understand it all. Because we don't. And when Jesus then is arrested and tried and crucified, the most horrible death that Rome could conceive of, their way of showing what happens if you dare even think about rebellion. And it was reserved for the poorest and the weakest as a lesson to the masses. It was horrible. And it was intended to bring shame and total rejection. And that is exactly what was experienced by those who witnessed Jesus' crucifixion, stayed with him through that. Not really the disciples. They ran. They were scared. They knew what was going to happen. And it happened. And then after the time of that was completed, Jesus says, "It is finished." And as the scriptures say, gives up the spirit. So that brings us then to the upper room, where the disciples are gathered, scared to death that the religious authorities were coming after them next. No one there to protect them, not knowing what to do. Nothing that they really expected happened, even though Jesus told them again and again and again what was going to happen. But it's one of those things that just makes no sense. And so they're in the upper room. Doors locked. Suddenly, well, they have heard this story. Some of the women came to say, "He's risen. We've seen him." Interesting point. In the time of Jesus, in Jewish society, the testimony of a woman was simply disregarded. To verify something, you needed 2 men. That's right. 2 witnesses, good standing in the Jewish community, to testify to the truth of something. So, of course, the disciples dismissed what the women said. Sound familiar to anybody out there? Okay. Anyway, so there they are in the upper room, locked doors, and Jesus is there. Jesus is there. Now, it's interesting how it's written because he's there, but it's hard for them to wrap their heads around. Is that really him? And so he shows them his hands and his feet and his side. Here's the body. Although it's a little bit different, isn't it? It seems to be able to go through locked doors and walls with no problem. So we don't understand about this resurrected body, but what we do understand is they saw believed. And that brings us to the hero of our story today, Thomas. I'm calling him a hero. Society has, and history has, I think, I agree with the write-up in Lesser Feasts and Fasts. They cast him as doubting Thomas, as if somehow he didn't really understand until he got to see for himself. Well, all the other disciples got to see. The women who came to the tomb got to see that he wasn't there, got the message. In John's account, well, there is, in John's account, Mary Magdalene saw and encountered the risen Jesus as the first one. But they saw. Thomas wasn't there. He didn't see. So later, they're gathered again in the same upper room as we just heard the story, and again, Jesus appears. And Thomas before had said, unless I see the marks, unless I put my finger in the hands, feet, my hand in his side, I'm not believing. Why? Because just like any of the rest of us, he was so dismayed at what took place that he didn't know if he could believe in anything anymore. Quite frankly, Thomas is just like all of us. He represents really what it's like to be a human being, to put your faith in something and then see it totally destroyed, and to be left nowhere. The disciples, all the other disciples, were just in the same boat. They just happened to see it sooner. So you can call Thomas Doubting Thomas all you want to. It was Doubting Peter, doubting. Go down the list. They were all doubting, except those who had experienced already the risen Lord. The women who wouldn't be believed. Love it. This is where we find ourselves in time. Crucifixion, we don't understand. We work at it. We study. We understand that somehow Jesus was accomplishing something that was unique and important to our relationship with God, to opening up ourselves more to God. It had more to do than just the simple kind of normal atonement things people talk about. Oh, you didn't follow the rules right. I'm mad at you. There's nothing good about you. Only if somebody stands in your place will I ever be satisfied, says God. That's sort of our projection onto God. Mostly, it's Jesus, like you and me, suffering like you and me, experiencing that death, and through death, overcoming death, which is also the last line of that part I quoted from Tim Rice. To conquer death, you only have to die. Makes no sense to our human minds. And yet somehow, in our hearts, we know it's true. We don't know how, but we know it's true. This day is a day when we open our hearts to the truth that Christ lives. He lives in us. It is real life. we are a part of Christ. We are a part of God's love. And the only thing now is, what does this mean for us 2,000 plus years later as we sit in this place? What does it mean for us to know that we have life eternal? Resurrected life begins now, not pie in the sky by and by. It is now. It happens with Easter. It happens with our belief. Yes, we are embodied. Yes, there is life beyond the body. Yes, we belong to God. And now what? Now is the time when we seek to serve Christ by serving everyone else in the world, all those who are lonely, all those who are looking for hope. And what do we have to offer? Not power and glory as the world understands it, but true power and glory as God reveals it through constant love and reaching out to us in every way possible to draw us in. Amen.